Have you ever wondered how the British Raj started and what led to its establishment in India? It all began in the early 17th century. During this time, the East India Company was founded not as a political entity, but rather as a trading enterprise. The year was 1600 and the world was rapidly changing, with new lands being discovered and mapped. Amidst this era of exploration and trade, the East India Company sought to capitalize on the lucrative spice trade in the Indian subcontinent. Initially, the company's intentions were purely commercial. However, as it gained a foothold in India, it began to realize the potential for political influence and control. A pivotal moment arrived with the Battle of Plassey in the year 1757. This was not just another battle, it marked the beginning of British political rule in India. The Nawab of Bengal was defeated and the East India Company found itself with the power to collect revenues, a role traditionally held by rulers. Following the Battle of Plassey, the company started to act more like a governing body than a trading entity. This transition was not smooth, and it led to a series of administrative changes. Among these was the Regulating Act of 1773. This act was significant as it was the first step towards central administration in India. It established a Governor-General who had the power to oversee the company's Indian territories. This marked the beginning of a centralized British rule in India, paving the way for what we now know as the British Raj. It's important to remember that the British Raj did not just emerge out of the blue. It was a gradual process, marked by strategic moves and political decisions. It was a game of chess where the East India Company and later the British Crown were the players and India was the board. The British Raj didn't happen overnight. It was a result of strategic moves and political decisions. So what did the administrative structure of the British Raj look like? Well, let's dive right into it. The British Raj was meticulously organized, and its administrative structure revolved around the establishment of three presidencies: Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. These presidencies were essentially administrative divisions, each governed by a president in council. The presidency of Bengal was the most significant, primarily due to its vast territorial expanse and economic importance. Madras and Bombay followed, each with its unique characteristics and attributes. These presidencies were not merely administrative units, they were power centers, shaping the course of events during the Raj. At the helm of this entire structure was the Governor-General, a position of tremendous power and influence. The Governor-General held the reins of the central administration and was the chief representative of the British Crown in India. He wielded executive, legislative, and judicial powers, making him the pivot around which the Raj revolved. Now, to manage such a vast territory, the British needed a robust administrative machinery, and that's where the Indian Civil Service, or ICS, came into the picture. The ICS was the steel frame of the Raj, consisting of officers who were responsible for the day-to-day administration of the country. These officers were selected through a highly competitive examination, and their role was pivotal in ensuring the smooth functioning of the Raj. One of the key positions within the ICS was the district collector. The term collector might seem a bit odd, but it originated from the primary duty of these officers, to collect taxes. However, their role was not confined to tax collection. They were the chief administrative and revenue officers of their respective districts. In fact, they were the face of the British administration at the local level. So there we have it, the administrative structure of the British Raj, a well-oiled machine that facilitated the British control over the vast Indian subcontinent. This structure was the backbone of the British Raj, enabling it to control the vast subcontinent. Ever considered the economic implications of the British Raj on India? Before the British Raj, India was a self-sufficient economy, rich in resources with thriving agriculture and manufacturing industries. However, the advent of British rule marked a significant shift from this self-sufficiency to a colonial economy, where the primary focus was to serve the economic interests of the British Empire. One of the most significant changes was the introduction of new land revenue systems. The permanent settlement system was introduced in Bengal, where landlords were made the owners of the land and were required to pay a fixed sum to the British government. This system led to the exploitation of the peasantry, as the landlords, in an effort to maximize their profits, often demanded high rents. In contrast to the permanent settlement, The Rayatwari system was implemented in the Madras and Bombay presidencies. Here, the peasant was recognized as the owner of the land, but a portion of the crop was taken as tax. This system, although seemingly fairer, still put enormous pressure on the farmers, especially during times of crop failure. The Mahalwari system, introduced in the northwestern provinces, was a blend of the two aforementioned systems. Here, a group of villages, or a mahal, was deemed to be the owner of the land, and revenue was collected from them as a whole. While these revenue systems led to the financial enrichment of the British Empire, they also triggered a significant deindustrialization of India. Traditional industries were unable to compete with the flood of cheap British goods, leading to the collapse of many local businesses. This in turn made India a market for British goods, thereby fueling the growth of British industries at the expense of the Indian economy. The British Raj left a lasting economic impact on India, the effects of which can still be felt today. Despite gaining independence, India had to grapple with the economic distortions and imbalances left behind, setting the stage for the economic challenges and policies that would follow in the years to come. But how did the mighty British Raj come to an end, you might ask? Well, let's delve into the fascinating story of the Indian national movement. The two major players in this movement were the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. Both played instrumental roles in the fight for independence, but their visions for a post-colonial India differed, leading to significant political challenges. The Indian National Congress, established in 1885, began as a platform for polite political dialogue with the British. However, as the Raj's oppressive policies became more apparent, the Congress transformed into a mass movement fighting for Swaraj, or self-rule. On the other hand, the Muslim League, established in 1906, aimed to secure the rights and interests of the Muslim minority. Over time, they began advocating for a separate Muslim state, eventually leading to the creation of Pakistan. One of the most defining moments of the Indian national movement was the Quit India movement of 1942. Initiated by Mahatma Gandhi and the Congress, it called for an end to British rule in India, sparking widespread civil disobedience. The British responded with force, but the movement had already ignited the flame of resistance. Another key event was the Indian Naval Mutiny of 1946. It began as a strike by Indian sailors against the British, but quickly escalated into a nationwide revolt. This was a clear indication that British control over India was rapidly eroding. The final nail in the coffin of the Raj was the Mountbatten Plan and the subsequent Indian Independence Act of 1947. Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India, proposed a plan for partitioning British India into India and Pakistan. The act, passed by the British Parliament, granted India its long-awaited independence. The end of the British Raj marked the dawn of a new era for India, one of self-governance and independence. The journey was fraught with challenges, but the spirit of the Indian people prevailed, bringing an end to 200 years of British rule. So, what are the key takeaways from our journey through the British Raj? We began our journey by understanding the dawn of the British Raj, an era that was marked by the transfer of power from the East India Company to the British Crown. This pivotal moment in history laid the groundwork for a new phase of governance in India that was characterized by a blend of British administrative practices and traditional Indian customs. As we delved into the administrative structure of the Raj, we uncovered the complexities of a system that was designed to maintain British control while also trying to adapt to the diverse socio-cultural landscape of India. We saw how the intricate hierarchy, from the viceroy at the top to the district officers at the local level, played a crucial role in managing the vast Indian subcontinent. Our exploration of the economic impact of the British Raj brought to light the profound transformations that India underwent during this period. We discussed the introduction of new agricultural practices, the growth of industries, and the establishment of extensive railway networks. However, we also acknowledged the darker side of this economic change, which included the exploitation of resources and the perpetuation of poverty in many parts of the country. Finally, we witnessed the end of the Raj, a period marked by growing nationalist movements, world wars, and ultimately the partition of India and Pakistan. The end of the British Raj was not just the conclusion of British rule, but also the birth of two new nations. Now, as we wrap up our journey, it's important to remember that the British Raj was more than just a period of colonial rule. It was a significant period in Indian history that shaped the country's political, economic and social landscape in myriad ways. The legacy of the Raj is intertwined with the story of modern India, a story that continues to unfold even today. The British Raj was a significant period in Indian history that shaped the country's political, economic and social landscape in myriad ways.